I've taken people to jail that I thought were innocent. The person accused another person of a crime. I didn't believe it happened, but I didn't have enough information to disprove it at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't have options. You know, I got to say, all right, well, let the system decide. I love the profession. I think...
What do you love about it? What do you love most about it?
You know, there's people out in the world that are willing to go into places, do things, and put their life on the line for people they don't know. And they do it daily. And they're willing to, like, you know, when I'm driving down the street and somebody says, the police, I take it as an honor because I know that person feels safe to say that to me. I was willing to treat 10,000 people wrong and have one person kill me than worry about that one person that's going to kill me and treat 10,000 people wrong. So...
How different are you than most police? What's your gut feeling? How often did you talk about that among other police officers? The fact that black people were disproportionately, right? Because clearly more white people are killed, but there are many more white people. How often do you remember having that conversation with police?
I'm judged based off the clothes I'm wearing.
Yep.
You know, that's what I'm judged off. You don't know Joe. And if you knew Joe, you love me. They're not personable people. Sometimes they're asked, but they're good cops. You need them in other situations.
Yeah.
You need people like that in some situations. The problem is they bring that attitude to every situation.
You know, people have a natural skepticism of the police and the military because they will represent state power. And, you know, this is like, and people are thinking about freedom. And, you know, it's like, dude, y'all are going to be the ones that take it away. In truth, it's not. People are going to willingly give their freedom away, but that's another story. How do you think about that as a cop?
Growing up, I was heavily into punk rock, you know, and cops used to always break up the concerts and all that stuff. And I thought, you know what? Maybe I can be the cool cop.
Wait, were you a kid that was standing around saying, the police?
I would sing those songs and walk around with mohawks, but I still always respected the rule of law. And then what I truly realize is what we all see, no matter what the message is, we had to be out there and let people say the message.
Yeah.
We had to let the protest happen as long as it's peaceful and as long as they're doing it legally and lawfully. So for us, I mean, we're probably the most protector of free speech and freedom.
Yeah.
And I really value that and valued it. So for me, I can see the perspective of it, because even when we take somebody's freedom away, I held that in high regard. Like, I made sure that reasonable suspicion, probable cause, and even at that point, I have no determination whether people are guilty or not.
Yeah.
And if their freedoms are completely taken away, that's the court's place to decide.
But even if you quite often, like, you mean, you're taking someone's freedoms away, but they've done something, A, or B, you're protecting someone else's freedoms by taking the freedoms away from this person. And that's a lot of what people miss.
Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, you know, like, I don't know, we can use, if this young lady accuses this young man of a crime, and I don't take him away, and I say, you know what, I don't believe you. How's she going to feel?
Yeah.
You know? But then when I take this guy away and he didn't do anything, how does he feel? So it's just, like I said, I always believe a police officer's job is to get people in a space to determine whether somebody is guilty or innocent. I don't determine that.
Yeah.
So if she tells me he did something and there's enough reasonable probable cause, because reasonable suspicion goes with probable cause, for me to take him to jail, I take him to jail. And then when it goes to a court system, then there has to be a beyond a reasonable doubt for them to be convicted. So I've taken people to jail that I thought were innocent. But I can't tell this person, like, there's enough, you know, the person accused another person of a crime. I didn't believe it happened, but I didn't have enough information to disprove it at the time.
Yeah.
So I don't have options. I got to say, all right, well, let the system decide.
This is one of the things that people who are not involved in policing, or who don't know about policing, or don't talk to police, or don't know, like you guys, right? You grow up with this. They don't see the gray area that people are dealing with all the time, this grayness. And that's, it's unfortunate, right? Because we think everything is black and white. And we think that you all see the world as black and white and not gray in the way that you just described it as gray. So I've been in rooms full of police officers, and without showing them the number, I asked them how many people per year are killed by the police. And some people answer numbers, like 10,000, 20,000. Like they don't know, people don't know either. And the number is a little over 1,000. When I see these numbers, it's just the 10,000, that's a lot of people, okay? But then I look at the next numbers, and I think, yeah, but you all are like, you will be, right? But you have these contacts with people, 60 to 65 million a year, and many people feel like that's a low number. There are lots of opportunities for things to go wrong. That 60 to 65 million is a lot, and then 10 million arrests. So when you see that, when you see those numbers, what do you, as a police officer, what do you see? What do you think?
I see the reality of it. I mean, I've had, I don't know how many contacts with people my whole career. It's such a rarity. I mean, things make the news because they're rarities that happen. That's just the facts of things. Things that happen every day, things that happen all the time don't make the news.
Yeah.
And funny enough, I had this discussion with my brother the other day. Every news person skews, whether intentional or not, skews the story. So it's such a small amount of times, or percentage of times that a shooting happens. And when they do happen, there's it's everybody's different story, everybody's different reaction, nobody knows.
And it's always tragic.
Yeah. Yeah, no, in my belief, and for me especially, I didn't get in this career to hurt anybody. I don't think anybody I've ever met got in this career to hurt anybody. Unfortunately, you sometimes have to. Sometimes, you'll see, I see it all the time where you see somebody get thrown to the ground real hard. And people are like, why did they throw that person in the ground so hard? Because you don't know how this person, like if I'm going to grab this person and throw them to the ground, I don't know if they're going to resist or not. So if I don't come in with full force, it might not happen, or I might get hurt. So you come in with a lot of force, and then they don't react at all, and they go limp, and then all of a sudden it looks like you slammed somebody to the ground. So I don't know, just like I think of all people in the world, most general, I don't think a lot of people go through the world with malcontent or
But when that happens to you, what happens in your head? Like you're arresting me, I don't resist, you're thinking I might resist, you use a little extra force on me. What happens to you?
I'm a whole different beast. I expect people to resist. I understand the impact of a uniform. I give people space to have that impact. If I'm going to grab you and somebody pulls away, I expect people to pull away, so I don't have that initial like, oh, they're trying to fight me belief. I love being a cop. I'm retired now, by the way. I love the profession. I think...
What do you love about it? What do you love most about it?
There's people out in the world that are willing to go into places, do things, and put their life on the line for people they don't know. And they do it daily. And they're willing to, when I'm driving down the street and somebody says, "F the police," I take it as an honor because I know that person feels safe to say that to me. Because they know I'm not going to go beat them up. They're not going to say that to some random dude or somebody that they fear. They feel safe enough to say things to me. Or when you see the protests and all those people are there yelling in the cop's face, those people feel safe enough to express themselves because they know they're not going to get beat up for generally no reason. And it happens. People do get, and nobody enjoys it. Every fight I've gotten into, every incident I've gotten to, I've ended up in the hospital too. I've gotten hurt too. And the older I got in my profession, it hurt even more. So I never wanted to get to that point.
Yeah.
So I was a talker, and I loved the profession so much that I was willing to risk my life for it. I was willing to treat 10,000 people wrong and have one person kill me than worry about that one person that's going to kill me and treat 10,000 people wrong. So,
how different are you than most police? What's your gut feeling, just from your perspective?
For a lot of my time in my career, I always thought I was doing it the wrong way, and I realized, I was doing it the right way. I'm in generally, like, just my whole focus and things. Like, people always tell me that, well, it's like nobody ever called me by titles. Everybody always called me Joe. Not a title guy. I just love being out there and making an impact on people's lives.
When we talk about deaths by police, people immediately assume people who are unarmed, because that's what we talk about. But in fact, 95% of the time, people are armed. And 5% of the time, they're unarmed. And every person who's killed, by the way, is a tragedy, okay? It's especially unarmed people. And we look at these numbers, and you see that, and black people are more likely to be killed by the police. And so you hear that, we hear that, and in many ways, the black community has spoken up about this to say, look, man, this is a problem. And it's a problem we need to address as a society, and it's a problem that police need to address. And my question to you is, how often did you talk about that among other police officers? The fact that black people were disproportionately, right? Because clearly more white people are killed, but there are many more white people. How often do you remember having that conversation with police?
Amongst us, like just talking?
Yeah, amongst you.
Well, we...
Like of racism, and it's like, dude, we got to check ourselves. And
none of us, well, like I said, none of us really, of course, everybody's a hero of their own story. Nobody believes they have biases. Nobody believes they are racist. And 9 times out of 10, like I said, she accuses him of something. I'm not the instigator of it. Or somebody calls me to go somewhere. I'm not the instigator of it. I'm not generally the starter of it. Now, how things work out, I think it's how you look at things, how people look at things, your history with whoever you are.
So let me ask you this in this way. When you hear that there's bias on the part of police, right, and that they're more likely to be violent toward people with darker skin, because it's not just black, it's also Latino, people with darker skin. How often did you stop and look in a mirror and go like, damn, Joe, is that me? Like, I gotta, right? Because the idea is that people activists are like yelling at the police, and the police are just like, yeah, get lost.
Well, I mean, that is a prevailing attitude. Like you don't know me. Like I'm judged based off the clothes I'm wearing.
Yep.
That's what I'm judged off. You don't know Joe. And if you knew Joe, you love me. So, I mean, I think a lot of it's that, where people believe that. Like I said, it's that reaction, and I think some of it happens. I don't know, because I personally have never run into what I believe is a racist cop. But
you personally have, you've seen it.
But on that same aspect, I've seen guys I've worked with who we have a description of, male Hispanic, white T-shirt, khaki pants, and they're stopping every male Latino that looks like that, even when you know that's not the guy. Like come on, this guy's coming out of a restaurant. You know that's not the guy. So,
but you're doing it anyway. See, like a lot of people would say, okay, well, that's racism.
And that's a problem. So, I don't know. Like I said, I think I was talking about it earlier. I think people sometimes have bad actions with good intent. Like, I think these guys, they just want to catch the bad guy. So they're catching everybody, but at some point you become the asshole, you know, and like, why are you still doing that? So is it unintentional bias? Is it real bias? Because it's so individualized.
Yeah, okay.
We had this conversation earlier. I am a real individual act person.
Yeah.
So it's really hard for me to generalize a group.
No, that's good. That's good. No, you only go by what you see. Police get a lot of training on how to do. We have this idea that we just turn police loose, and we all don't get training for how to de-escalate, how to do things, and like, there's a lot of training that goes into it.
Yeah, like in the state of California, you're required to update your training every couple of years. You have to go through certain things. You have to go through so many hours, and they keep adding more stuff. Like you got to go to implied biases training. You got to go through no shoots.
So you're in the training, de-escalation training.
De-escalation training. You have to learn to take a step back. What they call it tactical communication, how to talk your way down from things.
Which some people, I'm sure, do better than others.
Yeah. I mean, some people aren't good talkers. Some people, like I said, everybody's so individualized anyway. And in police work, there's so many, like, everybody's bringing their life experiences with them.
Yeah, yep.
No matter who you are, you're bringing it with you. And if you, like I always say, like, even with people always say, oh, I don't have any biases, but everybody does, because that's the way we're made. Like when somebody saw the first saber-tooth tiger eat the person walk out of the cave, the next guy that walked out said, anything that looks like that, I'm afraid of it. So if you don't have experiences and all you saw was something on TV and then you go out and you experience negativity with whatever you're seeing, you start building that in your brain.
Right, including negativity with police, right? Because when you come to associate the idea when police show up, bad things happen.
Yeah.
And if I'm innocent, police show up, bad things happen. So I develop a natural inclination, dislike.
Yeah, it's your brain. It's how we survive. It's what people do.
By the way, 60 officers killed yearly.
And if you talk to police officers, they think everybody wants to kill them and everything, and they're afraid, and people always want to kill them. People always want to hurt them.
But you weren't like that.
No, I mean, I drove around in a big car that said police with lights and stuff. If anybody wanted to hurt me, I'm easy to find.
So you didn't go. So you, for whatever reason, were able to have this idea, maintain this idea. Look, it's not likely. Let me just relax. Let me not take that. I need to be afraid of everybody.
I love people. I think people are fantastic. I don't believe people have intent to others. They sometimes do malintent actions, but even then, I think sometimes they do it with their belief of positive reasoning. I mean, so I always believed that I could get to the other side without violence.
You got 1 million sworn law enforcement officers in the United States. Some cops are jerks, man. Right? This is that case in Phoenix just last week, right? Some of them, there's 1 million people, man. Some of them are just going to be just bad eggs. As a cop, like, how do you think about that? Like, yes, some of these people are just, like, they shouldn't be cops.
Well, it's interesting because I've been with police officers in certain situations that I didn't want them there because they're not personable people. Sometimes they're assholes, but they're good cops. You need them in other situations.
Yeah.
You need people like that in some situations. The problem is they bring that attitude to every situation, and that's where I think some problems happen. I don't know this story, but I read it, and it's interesting to me because I was sharing with Sam earlier. My parents are deaf, and I remember growing up and police officers pulling us over and trying to give my dad or something instructions, and he doesn't hear it, so he doesn't know. And, I remember I was working with somebody one day and I was walking up on a car and I saw a guy digging through like the glove compartment and doing a bunch of stuff. And 9 times out of 10, that's a red flag for everybody. But there was something I noticed about his actions. I'm like, oh, this guy's deaf. So I just walked up and I started signing to him, and he's like, oh, yeah. I'm like, hey, can you just relax with your hands? Because we're scared. Like, 9 times out of 10, people are out there scared of the police. Police are scared of people, and 2 scared people make bad decisions a lot of time.
And you go back to police are in these situations where bad things can happen. And people are in situations where police can do bad things. And everybody is skewing the numbers at some level because you got 60 to 65 million police encounters. 10,500 go bad in that way. And then police wrongly beat up other people and do really just bad things to people, right? So they go wrong. But the vast majority don't go wrong. But we're afraid of the ones that do. The police are overly afraid of the ones who are the relatively small number of times that people are going to attack the police. And I'm not like, dude, it's like every death, every wrong thing is a tragedy in its own way. But as a sociologist, but the problem is when everybody's acting on the basis of a relatively small number of actions, we create lots of really bad situations.
Yeah, everybody, like I said, police think it, everybody thinks it, everybody thinks the world is a certain way. I generally try to judge the world that I live in.
Okay.
I think people are fantastic. I generally have not been the victim of a crime. At police work, people didn't usually fight me. People usually went with the program.
So here, let's go to the next slide. Given what you're a talker, right? So that's you in the photo. And that's you talking to somebody.
This was a homeless lady that wouldn't leave. Like, she was on the school campus, and the school didn't want her there, and they kept trying to get rid of her. And, they were trying to get rid of her, and I just sat down and had a conversation with her to figure out how can we help her. Police officers around the world will probably see this and say, why does he have a gun on her side? Why is this? That's unsafe. I lived my life and I did my job with, I knew that this lady tried to fight me. Really? Come on. I knew I probably could defend myself. The officer that happened to take the shot was standing right there because they thought it was weird that I sat down and talked to her. So I was willing to put myself in what people considered unsafe situations for the good of she's going through a tragic time. She needs help. She doesn't need somebody to arrest her for trespassing,
Someone might say, hey, but why you're showing this photo? And the problem is, in your career, there's so many things you're doing that are like this that people don't see either.
And minutes apart. Like, I could go from this to something in 10 minutes, go to, a fight, a shooting, a stabbing, back to this 5 minutes later. So it's a roller coaster ride for police officers anyway. That's probably why a lot of them die early with heart attacks. Your heart rate's going up and down, and and you have to be able to. I don't know. Anybody plays sports? A lot of sports nowadays. You strike out, you got to shake off that bat and go to the next one, and you got to be able to do that consistently every minute. Every minute, sometimes, it's just like.
You were right. You're out in LA, so there's a lot of stuff going on in LA.
On perception, there's a lot of stuff, but then
there's also a lot of this stuff.
I had lazy days too, where I drove around for 10 hours and did nothing.